Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 66 of our 90-day Rhino run. I'm super excited today. Day 66 is crazy. We are over 2/3 of the way there. We're kicking it in, but really, like I talked about the last time, when this really all starts is after this 90-day run. So we've been doing the call to actions. We've been learning so much, but there's so much amazing content that there's no way you can wrap it all up in 90 days and hit all of your goals, right? So go back through these, watch them, and really implement and apply them over the next 90 days after this, right? So just a few housekeeping. My name is Kelly Couch. For those of you that don't know me, I'm an independent promoter with the company Prove It. And today the topic is going to be storytelling and why that's important to your business, okay? And so a few housekeeping, reboots are now available on the site the first couple days of every month. And Hacking Better is coming up, you guys, 2.5 weeks away. We still have tickets available if you guys need to grab those. So go ahead and reach out. And I want to know, after yesterday's Zoom, who is ready to play to the buzzer today? Today and this month. If you play to the buzzer like we talked about yesterday, every single day this month, imagine how different October 31st will be from September 30th, yesterday. So that's what we're going to go over today. So I'm going to hop right in. Why? Storytelling. This is literally, you guys, the most important part to perfect if you are going to attract through social media. So we've talked about different ways of cold contacting in person. We've talked about social media. And I think equally as important, storytelling is equally as important whether you're in person or whether you're on social media. We're going to talk about it on social media today, but I think if you're in person, it's the same thing. And I talked about how, when we're cold contacting, we were talking about that, how that's why people always ask, I need to hang out with Nick, or I need to spend time with him to see how he cold contacts. And the reason he's so good at cold contacting is because he connects with the person's story and he shares his story. He's good at that, and he's good at evoking that from other people. And so it's equally as important there as it is here. So let's just go ahead and get good at it, right? Okay, so how amazing would your business be if people came to you instead of you having to go out and search for other people? I can remember the first time with this company and with this, when we started sharing ketones, that people were reaching out to us instead of us having to go to them and try to share whatever exciting thing we were doing. And we were like, did this really just happen? Did we really just get a message that was people wanting to know what we're doing, right? So let's use social media while it's hot, right? Who knows? In 10, 15 years, maybe it's gone. Maybe it's not around anymore. Maybe it's not as hot as it is now. But right now it's here and it's available, and it's an incredible tool and vehicle for us to use. So your number one job here with Prove It, with social media, with everything, with ketones, is storytelling. And the good thing about it is it's a skill you can learn, okay? I was not good at this in the past. I have always been good at telling stories in person, or so I think. But, I get exaggerated. I get excited. You share what's going on in your life. But putting that into words, or putting it into something I could share with other people on social media, was just not something I felt awesome at. But it's a skill you can learn. It's a growth area. You'll get better, right? Yesterday we talked about do it. Instead of analysis paralysis, instead of thinking I'm not good at this, stop telling yourself that story and tell yourself the story that you are good and you will get better. And there's no, really, there are good ways to tell stories, but if you're putting genuine content out with good intentions, there's not really a wrong way to do it. Can you adjust your wording to make people attracted to you more? Of course. But the goal here is to get out of the surface level stuff and really into what's in your heart and what's in your life and what's the good stuff. Like when you remember someone after talking to them, why is it? It's not because they talked about the weather. It's not because they talked about the news. It's not because they talked about whatever, their house cleaner. It's because they shared their heart. They shared about their family. They shared about their life, right? And that's what makes them memorable. So why are we then turning on social media and doing the same thing, surface level stuff, right? And sometimes that stuff is valuable because it's funny. Sometimes it's valuable because it's educational. Sometimes it's okay, but we've got to dig deeper, okay? And just do it. So I want you guys to add that. That's not in my call to action, but I want to put it in there right now. Add that to your affirmations. I am a great storyteller, because you need to be, and you can be, and you are. You just have to get it in here, right? So stop listening to that voice in your head that tells you that you can't do it, right? So how are we going to do this? Firstly, we are going to evoke a reaction in someone, right? So I think when you put it in the perspective of like how you feel when you listen to people, or how you feel when you talk to people, then you can kind of flip the switch or flip the script or whatever the saying is to figure out how you want to be putting stuff out there. So if you wouldn't stop your scroll forward, if you wouldn't, whatever, give it a standing ovation, if you wouldn't, you know, be excited about it, then don't present yourself that way, right? So I think there's so much noise on our phones, right? There's apps, there's Pinterest, there's social media, there's reminders, right? But we all know people have time. People will binge watch a Netflix series for 12 hours. People will spend 10 hours on a video game. So it's not that people don't have time to see your posts. It's that you have to make them interesting enough that people will stop and watch, or people will stop and read, right? Like you're scrolling through TV, you're not stopping on every single thing and watching it for 12 hours, right? What are you doing? You're finding stuff that's good, right? Like, I don't know what I would binge watch, but you're finding these awesome things, and then that's what you're watching for all that time. So like, ladies, who has gotten stuck watching a makeup video for like 3 hours, and you're like, oh man, like now I would probably know how to fill in this crazy eyebrow that I talk about, or like put on eyeliner if I used eyeliner. But like, what did I really just do? Or did I really just spend that much time watching that? Like, we get stuck in stuff that we're interested in, or like my kids, like people that watch that, I mean, people that make slime, like before bed, I have watched a couple of those videos, and you're like, what are we actually watching right now? It's like, you know, I have that thing where I can't stand noises. So to me, slime videos are just hours of like, right? And but you know, my kids love it. They love it, right? Or toy opening, like those little eggs. When they don't watch them now, but when they were younger, I would catch them watching those little egg videos where people are opening other toys, and I'm like, well, why don't we go play with your actual toys instead of watching them open toys? And what are we doing? You know, but you get caught up in it because it's interesting to you. So what it comes down to is how you're going to catch them, how you're going to evoke that reaction, and how you're going to stand out. That's what it's really about. Where all this noise is here, people are going to watch something. They're on it. They're on their phones. They're on this stuff. So how are you going to stand out? And so the point is that people have time, and it's them seeing who they want to watch and what they want to see, right? So stopping power, that's what we call that. When you put something out there and people stop and read it, we call that stopping power. So it's not blasting ketones. You will sprinkle that in there. But like we talked about in the past, that promo flyer is not stopping power. I'm sorry if I just hurt your feelings, but it's the truth, okay? That promo flyer, or like, I drank ketones today, that's not stopping power, because A, people don't know what it is yet, or B, they've seen so much of it, or C, they know that you're selling something, okay? So how do you start? Like, that's what's important. How do you start it? And then what's the meat, okay? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Like, for an example, I posted something a while back that had, you know, me drinking a Keto Up can. It had just come out, so obviously all of us were super duper pumped up about it. And I think I put something like, leading the industry with XYZ 1, 2, 3. I thought it was a really good post because all of us were pumped up about it, and who wouldn't, after reading that post, want to hop on and get instant ketones in their body, right? But I got very little engagement on it. And I think it's because when people read leading the industry, they know exactly where I'm going with that, right? They know that they've seen ketones on my stuff. So if I then put leading the industry with ketone technology or leading the industry. I forget exactly the wording on it. They know exactly where I'm headed. They're not stopping for that. They know what they think they know what it's going to say, right? And so they're moving on. Then, which I thought that was good. Like I put time into that one, right? And then I post one, you know, this is a good stopping power example. That's what I'm trying to give you an example of. So the leading the industry one, not so great engagement. And then I made a post like, I'm a recovered, exercise obsessed, food controlled, binging and purging bulimic, a control freak, completely out of control. Okay. That has a lot more stopping power. I am not still bulimic, but I struggled with that in my past. And so you see the difference here, right? Which one would you stop for? Leading the industry, no one knows what that is or doesn't care, or this story that probably a lot of people have struggled with, even if it wasn't bulimia, even if it was their version of an eating disorder or, you know, over exercising or mental control with food or anything along that line. They're like, oh, dang, she put it out there. Like, people don't talk about that stuff a lot on social media. You might think they do because you'll see one or two here and there, but people are terrified to share this kind of stuff because of the stigma or because of what people think, right? And so when you can share it and be open, and then people reach out and they're like, man, thank you for posting that. Like, I've been going through that. Even if they don't get ketones now, they're relating. They're relating to what I'm putting out there, right? So I think that has stopping power. That is me telling a story as opposed to pushing something on someone, right? Even though I would never mean to do that. I'm just trying to share what I'm doing. You see the difference, right? And I think there's nothing wrong with my keto up post. Like, I'll still leave it up there because someone will see it when they're looking at my other stuff. But, you know, we're talking about the difference in engagement, the difference in stopping power, right? And so one thing Gary Vee says that I love is to document and not create, okay? And if you think about that, like, it can sound the same, like creating a post, documenting a post, but if you're spending so much time creating content, you'll paralyze yourself. And I have been there. Like, I will go days where I'm like, I'm nailing these posts. I'm doing one a day. I'm on my 2-1-2 schedule that we got earlier in this series, right? And then other times I'm like, I don't even know what to write. I have this really good picture, but I have to create some really good content. Whereas probably if I am documenting my life, even to myself, like if I'm putting in the notes, things that happened that day, things that happened that week, lessons I've learned that week, awesome things that happened throughout, then I'm not having to come up with something new every single time because I've been documenting my life. I'm documenting my days. I'm documenting all of this as my thoughts come, and then I have it in there. So say I'm out for a run and I'm listening to a sermon and I'm like, wow, that was crazy how much that related to my life. I'm stopping, I'm putting it in my notes, and then I have it there, right? I have it there when I'm trying to come up with something. So if you document what you're doing and you tell your life story, you may think, oh man, that's not really interesting, but it is, okay? If you present it as interesting, people will relate, okay? Like, you can see whoever you watch on social media that you're like, man, they are so good at this and their life is so interesting. Like, do you think they're sitting there like, man, when I take my dog out for a walk every day, this is super interesting? No, but they present it in an interesting way because they're funny or they provide value or they make it interesting, right? Anything can be interesting. It's all about how you present it. It's all about how you storytell, right? And if you're relatable, then you'll be heard and you're more focused on sharing you. Yes, you're creating content, but you're sharing your life. And do you know how many other people out there want to see your life? They do. People are nosy, you guys. And if you're sharing your life in this way, people are going to start watching and they're going to, like, maybe people, like, you're different from me, right? And that's good. That's good. You want to be different from me because you want to say, okay, you can look at my posts for examples. I've done that plenty of times in the past. Look at other people's posts and then I'm like, oh, like something like that happened to me, and I can sort of see how that was successful for them and then present mine in a similar fashion. But right, like if whatever you did today is probably very different from what I did. So let's get that out there. You have a whole community of people out there waiting to relate to you. Like, understand that. Understand when you bring people into your team that are different than you, they're going to reach a whole different market than you. Like, I am all about attracting people like me, yes. But if I bring someone in who's different from me, I see that as an opportunity. I see that as a challenge in a good way because they're going to connect to a whole different group of people, right? And that's positive, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. Just do it. How many times have you heard, like, don't mess up good for perfect, just get it out there. You're going to get better. But the more you get out there, the more people are going to see you. Like, how many times have you logged in, someone maybe friends you on Facebook or follows you on Instagram, and you go to their story and their last like post is from February, like, and maybe it's good, but you're like, oh, like, is that even still them? Like, is this a real person, you know? Whereas like if they posted every day, even if they have 72 grammatical errors and their wording is not perfect and their spacing is not perfect, but you see what they did for the past 60 days, like, which one are you more likely to follow? Which one is more relatable, right? The second one. If that answer wasn't clear. Okay, so I have created what I thought was perfect posts in the past, and they got terrible engagement. Who else? Like, comment below. Yes, who else has been there, right? So that shows you, right? That shows you can pour so much time into a post that feels perfect and get zero engagement. So why not just put it? Just do whatever you're thinking and see what gets engagement and see what doesn't. But at least you're not spending so much time and then discouraged. You just do it. You just go and do it and see what gets engagement. And people are still getting all the views. So some are going to get high engagement, some are not. You can learn as you go, but you're making yourself relatable. So who has seen the 212 live? Obviously, we put that schedule out there. I put it in our team chat. If you need that, just message me. But you have ideas from that. If you did the call to action, if you have the paper, the literal paper, you have ideas from that, right? But you can shut down in the trying, I think. And we do shut down in the trying. And so if you think, like, what is happening with you all the time? Like, if that 212 schedule, you're coming up with some good posts with that, right? But don't forget the little things that are happening all the time with you, right? Like, did you meet someone at a coffee shop and their story moved you? Document that. Put it in your phone so you don't forget about it, and save it for a post for later. So when maybe you're having trouble with this dream post that you're trying to make, or a you post, or your prove it post, you're like, oh man, I'm going to share that story. I had literally stopped you guys and started a live one time about it was last winter, I think. And the mail lady, it was snow everywhere outside. We were out shoveling and it was dark and I was trying to clear a spot for Nick, and the mail lady comes and I'm like, what are you doing out here? Like, why are you out here delivering mail? Well, people need it, yada, yada. But I saw this truck following her and I was like, oh, this guy's following you. Like, he's probably trying to, like, you know, you're creating the path and he's going. He doesn't want to, like, create a new path in the snow in case he gets stuck. She was like, that's actually my fiance. He's following me around to make sure I stay safe in the snow. I was like, that is the literal sweetest thing I've heard in a long time. So I stopped and I went live. Like, that's cool. Like, that's cool that he cares about her that much. Like, you know, what are you doing for people that care about you? Comment in the comments. You know, like, that moves people. People want to hear those good stories. Okay, so that's an example. Off topic, but not off topic, but you know what I mean. Okay. Kid has a tantrum. Here's another example. Your kid has a tantrum and you yell and sit in your closet and cry because you've been praying for patience, or you want to be a gracious parent, but you weren't in that moment. Okay. How relatable is that? Yes. What lesson did you learn from it? Document it in your phone. Document your actual human experiences. Like, you guys are all human. You all go through experiences and you want to share these stories, right? Like, what would you, if your, you know, best friend came over, how would you share that story with them? Okay. People on social media are your new best friends. Share it there. Okay. I think for me, the people I love to follow on social media are the people who let it all out. Like, yes, maybe their pictures are beautiful. Yes, maybe whatever, but they're letting it out in their posts. Okay. And people are in their comments, like, good, bad, ugly. They're just responding to it all. They're going with it. Right. And they're not afraid to put their opinion out there in a positive way. Right. We're not like, whatever, like, I was going to say, a president or whatever. Okay. You don't have to go all political. Do it if you want to, like, if that's what's going to get you on social media. But I love it. I love that people are just out there sharing exactly who they are and letting people have it. Like, that's who I like to follow on social media. And I think the more you put out there, like I said, the more chances you have to be heard. So how can you bring value to your storytelling? We talked about how it's all about value. And I walked through, like, how to provide value. Like, is it entertaining? Is it educating? Those kinds of things. Remember that list we went through? If you're sharing your story, make sure that you're telling people the why behind it, right? So share your depth, but loop it back to why you're sharing it. So, you know, that's kind of a pro tip here on social media. Like yes, you're putting it all out there. But if one day I'm talking about a medical condition, one day I'm talking about my relationship with, an estranged relative, one day I'm talking about my mom things, we've got to loop it back around to why we're sharing it, what lesson came out of it, or ask a question. People want to share, like, why, like, anxiety sucks. Am I right? Yeah. People are going to comment on that. Yes, it does. XYZ. They're going to message you, whatever. Ask a question. So you're bringing value to people in your story. Okay. And I think it was Gary Vee said, when you give a buttload of value, you guilt people into buying shit. Right. So sorry for my language, but Gary Vee, but like true. Like, are you more likely to buy things from people at the end of the day who have shared themselves and brought you so much value, or are you more likely to buy things from people who just post promo flyers? And there's a lot in between, right? But the people who bring the most value to you, it guilts people into buying shit, okay? So look at the best storytellers, right? They're putting it all out there. Like, if you had drugs in your past, if you have bad mom moments, if you have a bad relationship with your family, or you have a fertility journey, or you have injuries, or whatever has affected you, let's start getting it out there. And if you want help with this, reach up, okay? Reach out. Like, let's do this together, okay? I am not perfect at it, but I'm starting to put it out there, right? And so if you look at my posts and you want help with that, reach out, okay? You have these parts of your story, right? Everybody does. It's your journey. You just aren't sharing them. And people that do share them sell more ketones. Is that starting to make sense in this whole Rhino run and today? Why? Because people watch and people connect. Like, people need to connect with you. They're not just going to buy ketones because you sell them. They want to know who you are, especially on social media. Because in person, they can get that feeling. On social media, you got to give them that feeling, right? So what are 5 ways to create stopping power? We've talked about that. 5 ways. I'm going to give this to you. Okay, photos, I think an obvious here that we talked about, particularly on Instagram. Let's get some good photos. They need to be bright, especially over there on Instagram. I can help you with that. So reach out if you want some good photo editing apps, ones to brighten it up. I've got a really great one that I use every time I click in. It just brightens it and makes it all look nicer. It's a quick thing, especially if you're just getting started. So your photos need to be good. But number 1, short and sweet one-liners. When you're doing caption on your pictures, or you're going to start telling a story, if you just go right in and you've got a whole long paragraph, what's going to make people stop and say, okay, I want to read this whole thing? Your picture might, if it's good enough, right? But if you're like, we're not paralyzing ourselves, right? So you're taking a picture and you're putting it on there, you're brightening it up and you're getting it there because you're getting your story out. What's going to make them stop? So we want to do kind of a good one-liner or little quote or something that's going to make them stop. Then you're going to do spacing, and then you're going to go with the rest of it, right? So short and sweet one-liners. What's an example? Like, I always thought diamonds were a girl's best friend until I met yoga pants. Right? Like, I would stop at that. That's funny, right? Like, yeah, me too. Or like maternity pants, right? I've posted before, like, I lived in maternity pants for a solid 4 years while I was married, okay? Like, that would even be a funny one-liner, right? Because people are like, girl, me too. I need that stretchy material. Okay, that's funny. I would stop at that. Another one, like, more serious note, like, if you don't think photos are important, wait until they're all you have left. Okay. Like, I posted that when I was talking about Nick's dad one time, I think that stops people because they're like, oh, dang, that's right. Like I should take pictures, right? I should take more pictures, or whatever makes people stop. Number 2, negative wording. And if you have watched me at all, I am not saying go on there and be like, I hate my life, XYZ, gossip, drama, blah. I would never tell you to post that. What I'm talking about by negative wording is engaging people by starting there, right? Okay, because we're always talking about when we're sharing our story in the past or before ketones, if you're doing your keto, since, and what I've learned or what I'm most excited about for the future. So here, an example would be, I've always hated how I looked in the mirror. That's a good stopping one, right? And then negative, that's using negative wording. And then you can space and go down into what you're going to say. Or I'm trying to think of another example, but I always have one thing at the top and then do spacing and then continue, right? So that way they stop, but it's broken up for them. You know, on Instagram you can do, or I mean on Facebook you can do spaces. On Instagram you kind of have to play around with it. It'll combine them all if you just do spaces. So throw in some like I'll do a return and then a period or a dot and then another one and then do your next paragraph. But if you break it down for people into these paragraphs, into smaller things, their brain, if they see this big story, they're like, oh, I don't have time to read that. If they read your line and it's funny, they go to the first part of it and they're like, that they can get themselves to the next one and go the whole way down through. Just a little tip there, okay? Number 3, talking in numbers. So for example, 3 ways I've overcome being a yeller, okay? Like I used to scream at my kids. Here's 3 ways that I overcame that. People like to see numbers. That stops people. They're like, oh, I need these 3 tips, right? 5 ways I stopped eating a whole pack of cookies at 11 p.m. every night, right? People, whatever your numbers are, people want to know. They want to know the 5 things they need to do to be successful in that area, right? True. Number 4, emotional power words, okay? So whatever your thing is that you're going to be talking about, like depression, eating disorders, suicide, infertility. And I'm not saying you have to have one of these major issues, but a lot of you do. And even if you don't have something major you went through, you've gone through things in your life that people want to learn from, okay? So these emotional words, whatever it is that you've been through, whatever it is you're going through, whatever it is that your kids are going through, like they're hard to talk about. 100%. They're hard to talk about in person, let alone to put out on social media. I've had posts in the recent past that when I put them out there, I was like, I don't know if I was ready for that. I don't know if I was ready for that because you don't know what kind of reaction you're going to get. You don't know how you feel about everyone knowing that little secret that you've had for that long time. But the truth is, everyone else is scared to talk about it, right? If you're scared to talk about it, everyone else is too. And so you know what you're doing. I got literal goosebumps when I just said that because how you stand out is by standing up and sharing it. And do you know how many people then will reach out and say, me too, or I was there, or I needed to hear that today, or thank you for sharing. So many people need to hear that. And that is so empowering because you change people's lives in ways you don't even know when you share your story like that. Okay. So number 5, ask a question. People love to share opinions. You guys, people love it. And so how are you getting people engaged, right? You can do it at the beginning, like I said before, like anxiety, it sucks, right? Yeah, it does. They're going to all comment below. Yes, it does, right? Or, you know, at the end of your post, like, what are you doing today to whatever, to keep your kids fed when you have no groceries? You know, like, I don't know what your question is, but ask a question. People want to share, okay? They like to share their opinion and they also like to help, right? How many times have you seen a post and you're like, oh, I know that. Like, I know what the best Binky brand is. I don't know. I haven't been in Binky stage for a while, but whatever it is, right? You're going to help them out. You're going to share. So how are you opening your post up, right? Like, I drank my keto today and today's a good day. Crickets, right? Like that does, after I've just walked you through all these other awesome ways to get people to stop, does that one still feel really good to you? Like it doesn't, right? And we want to put it there because we do feel good. I feel you on that. Put it in your stories, okay? Do your 10 posts about your life, or your 10 stories, I mean, and then put a little one in there. Like I'll do that in my stories. Like how you fueling up for your afternoon. That's for your stories. It's gone 24 hours, right? So you see the difference here that I'm trying to get across. So what are you interested in? That's what you're going to be putting on there, right? Whoever responds, these are your people. Put them on your you list to engage with daily. So if you've been watching these Rhino Run calls, you know, this will all make sense. What is your you list? Why are you engaging? What kind of people are you trying to attract? So if you haven't been watching, go back through and watch them, and then all this will make sense. For example, are you into organic products? Are you into farm to table restaurants? Are you into homeschool curriculums, old school rap, makeup brands? What are you into? This is how you figure out your people, by storytelling about the things you're interested in and the things you've been through. So I'm going to give you guys some tips, and then I'm going to give you a call to action. Okay, so your prove it story. A, prove it story. Caption, here's how you're going to do it. before ketones, everyone who's telling their story is doing this same thing. Do your caption, your one-liner. Before ketones, since ketones, what I'm most excited about. Do it. I'm telling you that when I started doing it, it made my ketone story feel so much more authentic because I wasn't like drinking and be in a good mood. It was like before ketones, I was a like raging wife that got mad at everything my husband did. Since ketones, what I'm most excited about, okay? We're telling you things that work here, okay? So do that. Another tip, if you're struggling with writing, you can use voice to text, okay? Do that while you're out. Do it while you're going around your house. And then when you get home, you can clean it up without much time and put it at the post, okay? Third tip, use impactful moments in your life, okay? That's going to be one of our call to actions. I'll get into that. Sharing stories in your stories feature. So if you aren't using stories, I'm just going to put this out there. If you aren't using stories, you're missing out, okay? Because you can't really tell who, or you can, I guess, if they like it or if they comment on your Instagram feed, but you can see who's liking your stories, right? So you can play around with hashtags in there. You can be funny in there. You can be yourself. This is the funny, crazy things that happen in your day that you maybe not put in a post, but like you can be yourself in there. Like you can be yourself on your post, but you're using these rules and you're like getting yourself out there, right? In your stories is where people click in and they're like, oh dang, like look whatever. Okay. Like you tell a funny story. Like, you know, we have been on a thing with AJ and his potty training journey. And right. So I put a lot of that in there as it was happening. Like, you know, for example, and I don't want to, you know, I want to respect your time here, but we were at our first homeschool, like co-op. We joined a co-op and our first like orientation picnic. So we all went down in the stream. And so AJ, when he says he's got to go, you got about a 40-second window. Okay. So my kids are in a stream in water. I can't leave them. And he's like, I gotta go. So I'm like, oh, and the bathroom is like all the way across. And we're in the stream with all these new families. We're just meeting. And so one of my best friends is there and I'm like, so you're going to have to create a distraction. Like I'm going to have to take him right over here to the other side of the stream. And we did. And so we went over to that side of the stream. We did the business, washed off in the stream and went about our day. And so I posted about that. Like that stuff I probably wouldn't make a post about, but it's funny. And people are like, that happened. Like maybe not that exact thing happens, but you know, people are in it. They're like, they want to know what's going on in your life. Okay. So be relatable, be in the moment. You get 15 seconds per screen in there. And if you do the hands free, you get like 4 in a row. But if you keep going after that, you're not going to keep them. So there's a little tip there. If you're going to go more than 3 to 4 screens, what I would do is use your text feature. That has the stopping power. So say I go into someone's feed and they're just, you know, 15 videos. I don't know what it's about. I'm probably not going to take the time to sit there and watch it, right? But here's an example. If on the first one I put, you won't believe this. Oh, what would I believe, right? Like if someone put that, I'd be like, oh, I wonder what they got there. Or if like on the last one, you're like freaking potty issues, right? So maybe they didn't want to watch the first 10, but if they were scrolling through and saw that, they're like, I'm going to back it on up there because I want to make myself feel better by seeing what she's going through, right? Okay. So even if they skip the rest, they may catch that and go back, right? So call to actions. First one, I want you to write down 10 moments in your life that have impacted your life, okay? You can make tons of posts with these once you do it. Just like your Prove It story. If you guys did that call to action, you wrote that all out, and you can splice that out and make tons of posts, which I think is actually better. You know, I've done ones before where they have all the benefits in there, but I think if you're just talking about mom energy or energy for whatever you're doing, let's stick with that story and then think how many posts you can get out of that, right? Same thing here with these impactful moments in your life, but you got to start with the list first, right? For example, for me, maybe an impactful moment was, you know, I was with a guy for 8 years before Nick, and then I found out that he didn't want to get married and have kids. That's an impactful moment, right? And then sort of our separation, whatever it is for you. But this is like, it's going to get real and it's going to get vulnerable. And that's where we want you to be. Okay. That's where we want you to go with yourself. Okay. You're going to, second call to action. I want you to start to notice the things that you're doing all the time. Like, I think sometimes you're like, what would I even put in my story? What do you do every day? Right? Like, do you wake up and make coffee? Do you do miracle mornings? Do you do a devotional? Do you make ketones? Do you play outside? Do you do homework? What are the things you're doing on a daily basis? So your posts are going to be the inspirational stuff that people are seeing that are vulnerable and real about you. And then another layer is in your stories, the things you do every day. Think how much more relatable you are when they start to know your schedule and all that stuff, right? Okay, number 3, share your story. The most successful people in our generation will be the best storytellers. I don't know who said it, but it's so true, right? It will change your business. So if you want to go to the next level, and I see people do these, and if I'm being totally transparent, I have started and done like maybe 2 in a row, but I haven't really drawn them out. And once you do it, you can save it and you can share it often. Different eyes are on your feed all the time, or different eyes are on your story all the time. So what I want us all to try to do is to share our story in our stories. This is kind of next level, like advanced, but I think you guys can do it. I'm got faith in you. And it's going to take time, but like go through your old photos and tell your story with it as you post them. So like for example, like back in 1999, I went to college, and there's a picture. And then when I got there, I drank way too much. My roommate failed out, like picture me and her, because we all drank together. And then, XYZ to today, and then why my life is better now. And you can walk people through that. And then you can save all of that on your phone in an album and share it as frequently or as infrequently as you want to. But see how that's walking a whole different audience through what you've been through, right? And then you can talk about it after, like, man, that was really hard to share when I was going through those, but then you can open up there too. So that's your call to action today. I would love to hear when you do these call to actions and some of your impactful moments, and I'm looking forward to seeing them on your social media too. So we will see you guys tomorrow.